Congressman, we're doing things unusually tonight, but I think it's time, 2 years into this so-called recovery, almost to the day, we've got problems. Why don't people still acknowledge the magnitude of those problems?
I guess they still believe that government's going to take care of them, that somehow Congress will pass more appropriation bills and the checks will keep coming and the Fed can bail out everybody. They really believe it because, in a way, the deception continues because we are still running up debt and we're still printing money and foreigners are still taking our dollars. So it still works. But the other part of government being way too big and being able to really pay for it, that's where the problem is. We can't pay for it because we're not producers anymore. We only can borrow and we can only print money, and that's a dead end. But as long as people will loan, or as long as the printing presses run, we're going to drive ourselves into a much deeper hole. So this is not a bit of a surprise to me. You know, they talk about the potential of a double dip a couple years ago, and I kept thinking, well, maybe there'll be government statistics that'll talk about double dips, but there's one big dip that's been going on, and I think the big dip is actually started about 10 years ago for the standard of living for average people, good jobs going overseas, and people aren't getting richer. The people who had their stocks demolished over the past 10 years. So it isn't improving, but I think the basic problem is they never figured out why we got into this trouble.
Well, they haven't even figured out that spending hasn't fixed it. So, well, I guess what I'm asking you, Congressman, and this is a theme that I know you're running for president on, it's something that you and your son Rand Paul, the senator for Kentucky, have been raising. That is the notion of not only cutting spending, but hacking spending, substantially so. But even with the severe hacking both of you have looked at and proposed, it's relative chump change in the scheme of things. I think in your son's case, $500 billion off the bat in a $1.5 trillion deficit that still leaves it at north of $1 trillion. That's how big our problems are, and yet we don't even see how big our problems are.
No, and look how Paul Ryan got hit by making some suggestion too. But you know, I just think that maybe we word it incorrectly because it's always cut this, and cut this. Maybe if we said, well, we'd rather have the people spend the money, don't take it out of the economy, let the people spend this money. Because I do talk about, I don't put on the top of the list cutting health care. I put on the top of the list some of this foreign stuff. And I say, why shouldn't that money be spent back here by the people? And I think they can visualize this a little bit better. And literally that is what the case. We don't destroy wealth by stopping the spending by government. We produce more wealth because it gets into the hands of the people and better decisions are made. Because
but we don't do that. I mean, and I'm not blowing you smoke, Congressman, because whether people agree or disagree with you, no one can deny how ahead of the curve you were on all of this stuff. And I admire anyone who risks a great deal of wrath doing that sort of stuff. So my hat's off to you on that.